including our speaker. So I will say, I will first start recording.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the April edition of the Tips and Tricks SIG. And our typical format will be open forum, and then we'll go into a list of topics for the evening. We can jumble this up any way you guys want. If we want to go into list of topics and then go to open forum, we could do either way. But here we are. I'd like to open up the floor to the first question of the evening. Okay, great. Go ahead, Bill.
It's not a question. Firefox came up with a way to edit PDF files. So if you're not aware of it, I thought I would point that out. I did it when I first saw it, so I'm not exactly sure, but it was very easy to do. I think it appeared on their menu screen, and it was pretty simple. So for anybody that's needing to work on a PDF file, you might try that.
Have you tried it?
Well, I did. I played with it for a couple of minutes, but that was a couple of weeks ago, and I've slept since then.
Okay.
Is that just a reader version or a editable version?
Edit.
You can. That's what I'm saying. You can edit it.
Okay.
I presume it's fairly simple editing functions.
Yeah, probably. I didn't play with it a lot, but enough that it did work.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I remember right, it had some graphing capabilities as well. So it wasn't just editing.
Well, I just got my update today for Firefox, but I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that could be another tool for the toolbox.
Oh, there's also readers for all the browsers now, not just Edge. You got the Chrome one, but you have to go through Chrome flags to activate it. But also there's one for Reader and for Firefox and Safari also. So some of this will also work in the other Chromium-based browsers as well. It's just a matter of finding out the details. I've got some of the details, and I passed some of it on to Sanford.
Yeah, the difference is up until now, Firefox hasn't had all this built in.
Right.
And no browser had anything built in to edit.
Right.
Although you can get online editors or add-in editors.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, Edge has got a viewer, and you can mark up and things like that, but you can't pull apart a PDF into multiple pieces or rearrange them, let alone make changes or additions to it.
Yeah, as far as rearranging pages go, I've got something in Linux that does that. Interestingly enough, it's called PDF Arranger, and it's a flat pack.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's about the easiest one to use. Drag and drop. And it does what split and merge does in Windows, PDF split and merge, PDF SAM. And PDF SAM, the basic edition, is free. And of course, in Linux, the PDF Arranger is free. In Mac, there's probably one too. Probably one for iPad.
Okay, anyone else? I got a question. What would be suggestions for Firefox, or I'm sorry, for Chrome, for pop-up blockers and malware blockers?
Pop-up, the two top ones that I am aware of are UBlocker and Ghostlery, and another one that's leans heavily towards privacy but affects ads also is Badger.
Add one more, no script.
No script and safe script I've used for years. that is not for most people.
No, but it's there.
Oh, it's there, but it's a lot of rules, and you have to, per website, go through all the JavaScript that is trying to run and say what will run and will not run. And with websites constantly changing, things break. You got to go in, make adjustments to what can and cannot run.
Are we talking clarify? Are we talking no script or the other one?
No,
No
script,
script.
or safe script. Safe script is for Chromium base. No script is for Firefox base.
Okay.
Yeah. I can tell you what I use. And I can tell you one thing I would add if I were concerned about malware. I use Ghostlery, and I don't use any list-based blockers because Chrome has changed in a way, and Firefox also, that it limits the use of these lists. I also, to clean the cache really quickly, I have things like Click and Clean or Forget Me, also known as Forget Me Not. And the one that I would add is Malwarebites has a really good browser guard.
Yes, I've used Malwarebytes browser guard for a number of years since it came out, and I use it in. It's not available in the Firefox, but any Chrome or Chromium-based browser that can be added in. It's as an extension. But a lot of
Right.
people don't know what extensions are, or they hear horror stories about extensions that are bad.
Yeah.
I've been using extensions for about 20 years, and I have yet to have only one go bad because the creator of that extension sold it to a third party. That person then modified it to do a lot of nefarious things to the point where Google came out with warnings. Then Google came out and says, forget it. We're removing it from your Chrome browser, period.
Right. Right.
All right.
They've been cleaning things up a lot.
Right.
By the way, circling back to Malwarebytes, yes, it is available for Firefox now.
Oh, okay. Then they just
Okay.
added it.
Let
So-
me give you the URL.
Put it in the chat.
Yep.
All right. So the Malwarebytes browser guard, is that comes as an add-on
Yeah,
or
extension.
standalone?
It's an
It's an
extension.
extension.
No, I guess I'm saying, do you need to put Malwarebytes installed in your system first?
No.
No.
Okay.
It comes free with the Pro version, but you don't need the premium version.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a standalone.
Yeah, almost all this kind of stuff I've been doing for years, it's all free. I don't have any paid for extensions, etc. Or Malwarebytes free. Usually you get the trialware, and after 14 days, the extra protections go away and you have the free version. And I know how to deactivate the trialware so it becomes freeware right away. And I changed the pups removal to a pups warning because I do have some programs that are free to use that have lots of pups in them, but I've never had any bad experience with them.
And also, what I do is I activate rootkit detection.
Yes.
From where?
In setting up the scan, you do a custom scan.
Circle back. What application are you talking about?
Malwarebytes free.
Malwarebytes
Okay.
scanner.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
there's-
we're talking about two different products.
Well, you're into something, and I want to clarify for everyone else that's sitting here. So if you load Malwarebytes on your system and you want to enable this root scanner,
Rootkit.
rootkit, what do you got to do?
do a custom scan.
The scanner has a little target icon
Okay,
when
why
you
don't you
set
show
up a
us?
scan.
Could you
Okay,
show us?
let me see if I can pull it up. I am in a limited user account, and that makes it a little more difficult, but let's see if I... Just a minute, I don't need to do that. I can try that. Now this is going to do something. It takes forever to fire up. Oh, it fires up all by itself. Now here's what it wants you to do. Upgrade to premium.
Sure.
Because I have the free license. Scanner. See how I hit the target?
Yes.
Advanced scanners. Now you can configure your scan. Rootkits, treat as malware, or ignore or warn. And I can select which drives and even which folders or which users to scan.
So I see you do not have it checked.
That's because it unchecks itself between scans.
Okay,
You have to check it for each scan
got it.
because it's a custom scan. I think you can save scans, but it may be in the Pro Edition.
Most likely, yes. But I never bothered to investigate that part.
In other words, there are scheduled scans which would specify, but you have to pay for that feature. It's in the premium.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on a Chromium based browser, but if you want, I can show you some of the extensions that I have.
Can we stay with that for a minute? I'm confused. What's the difference between doing what you just did and using Malwarebites?
What I just did,
Yeah.
that is Malwarebites.
Well, I saw that, but I have Malwarebites on my computer.
Yeah?
Do you understand what a rootkit is? That may be the troublesome part.
Ah,
I do not.
Okay, that's the what needs clarification.
all right.
Is that a virus or a malware?
Here's the situation. Root is the old-fashioned term for administrator,
Okay.
and it also refers to an area of your computer that is mostly a system area.
Okay.
Normally, if you're not using Windows, most operating systems do not run as administrator, and programs don't run as administrator. But in Windows, they do because it has a history of doing that, which goes back to DOS. Now, the root privileges, the administrator privileges, are elevated. If you have a piece of code that comes into Windows and pretends that it's an installer or an exe or something like that, nothing in Windows prevents that from gaining elevated privileges. In Linux, you get all kinds of flags and sirens all over the place, and you'd probably be told, I'm sorry, Dave, I cannot let you do that. But in Windows, you don't have those safeguards unless your antivirus puts it in. Protected folders is a good step for Windows Defender, but it doesn't protect everything. The root directory, or the root branch of the tree, shall we call it, it's like the trunk of a tree. It's the main line core of the operating system. Anything that gets in there has powerful privileges. And rootkits can hide themselves so you never see them. They can rename themselves so they look like something benign. They may even look like a vitally important Windows service. And you have to shut down their services to get rid of them. You have to shut down their executables to get rid of them. Basically, you have to go into safe mode in order to even begin to approach getting rid of them. You may even have to go outside of your operating system and maybe even use a Linux-based tool to really hack your way in and rip these things out by their roots. They are that nefarious.
Okay.
So you want to block them.
So the standard Malwarebytes, when you do a scan on that, doesn't look for this.
No, it won't normally look for it,
Okay,
partly
so-
because it's so difficult to quarantine or remove them.
Right,
If you
so-
quarantine a rootkit, you may actually have an unbootable system.
So if I do what you did and go to that target on the scanner,
Yeah.
how often do you have to do that? Do you just do it once, or do you do it every time?
If you're doing a full system scan, include rootkits, but have it warn you about them. Because that way, it'll let you know it thinks there's something there, but it won't try to quarantine it or mess with it, so it won't crash your system immediately. and it won't lock up your system. Windows 11 will just lock up from security precautions that are built into the operating system. And you don't want your operating system totally locked while you're trying to figure out what's going on here.
No.
So best thing to do is get the warnings and then either make a copy to an external drive of the output, which is a text file, or just copy it down and write it down somewhere, and then start your process of seeing, can I remove this, or looking online and seeing, has this been reported as malicious?
Okay. I got an idea.
Okay, I'm going to bring up a browser screen here. And these are some of my standard ones that I have as an extension. I have LastPass, which is my password manager. Here's Malwarebites Browser Guard. This is the one that originally worked beautifully. It puts things to sleep with your control. And then it was sold. The new owner did nefarious things, got blackballed or blacklisted, whichever you want to call it. And the original owner of the software brought back his last version, renamed it. It's now, instead of the Great Suspender, it's called the Marvelous Suspender. This one here is the ad block program that's part of this browser, but I normally would use Ghostlery. This is Grammarly, and then I have for some systems I use things like Session Buddy on Chromium-based systems, and I sometimes use DuckDuckGo Privacy Essentials also. There's two other ones that are in here. I don't list the icons, but they're running regardless in the browser that stop websites from gathering all the information about you and your computer that you're using, the operating system, what browser you're using, etc., etc. And those are add-ons as well. This Security Privacy Center is also part of what is in this particular browser. This happens to be a vast security browser.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just something that I've been doing for decades. I have on some systems, not all, either safe script or no script, but you got to have the patience of a saint to deal with it until you get it running most of the time, and then you only have a problem now and then that you have to address.
Okay, sounds like some great stuff. I'm glad I asked that question. Anyone else have any other questions for the group? No. All right, so we go into some of the topics we have. We don't have our presenter with us tonight, so we're going to have to skip over that part. Wayne, you might want to reach out to him and see if he's available.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Oh, you're just thinking about it. I got to tell you what to do at this.
Let me. I'll do it on my other computer. You will.
Okay, I'll let you do what you got to do. In the meantime, we're going to jump to our topics. They were posted in the invitation for tonight. If you guys could take some time to go through it and tell me if there's something in there we'd like to go over. I know he's just biting at the bit over there.
No, I'm in total darkness.
Total darkness.
And figure out, okay, what's going on here?
I looked at the one on System Restore just to see if I had protection turned on, which I had never checked, so it must be turned on automatically.
Okay.
It was on.
Are you talking about what does system restore do?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's pull.
One thing for Bill and others, I frequently find that somehow a system restore has been turned off, and one of my other programs, when I run it, says, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm supposed to do a restore point, but I can't because that's turned off." And but it gives you the option of turning it back on so that it creates the restore point.
Yeah, there have been some updates that have done that to me.
Yes, and so from time to time you may have to manually check out whether it's running or not. Normally, when you're getting Microsoft updates, it should create a restore point before it installs stuff, and also you have other programs that when you do updates may want to create restore points, but they may not always tell you, oh, restore points is turned off, so I'm going to skip that. Good programs will give you a warning. It's turned off. Do you want to turn this feature back on?
Yeah, one other thing in both 10 and 11. There's not enough space set aside by default for system restore. You need to raise it to maybe 5%. That way you can store more points.
Mine was at 7 right now.
Yeah, you can store more restore points if you do that. Depending on the size of your drive, you may even want to raise it to 10. But on my huge drives, it's like about 5% is fine.
Okay, well, so does everyone let's know how to get to system restore? Anyone not?
I just type it down in the search.
Okay.
Yeah.
You start with create and it'll pop right up for you.
Good.
I just start with the term restore, and then it'll bring up the various options. And if I have to put in the word point, I do that.
Okay, so in this article, they talk about the configuration to expand it, the size, making sure that it's turned on, system protection is turned on.
Right.
I have found there has been instances on some machines in which it was never turned on, and I was quite surprised that would be the case. Don't know why.
That is the default in Windows 10 and 11.
Yeah,
it's off.
It's off.
Really?
Yeah.
It's off.
And I must have turned it on somewhere.
And the bad part is I don't have a good handle what is turning it off when it was turned on. And until all of a sudden I see a message that says, hey, I want to create a restore point, but it's off. Do you want me to turn it on?
Well, I have had restore points mysteriously disappear even though I had space for them.
Usually disappearing is because the either a time expiration, and I don't know what the time period is, or you have so many restore points to create a new one, it's got to push one off.
Yeah, I didn't know about that expire. It might be because I only look into this like about once a month.
Well, see, the thing is and it may have to do with storage sense. Storage sense may say, hey, after a period of time, odds are you're not going to use this restore point that's real old and is getting rid of it.
It may be part of the setup of System Restore. Let me check into that.
So back to this article, they do go through the fact that you can bring it up by the command prompt, which I did not know.
Right. That's what I do in part. I just use a run. I do a Windows R key, which brings up run. I stick in exactly what they've got there on the screen, systemdm.cpl, and then the fourth tab is for system protection.
Yep, it says to navigate to the system protection tab.
Right. and then you see exactly what you saw in the beginning of this article here on the image.
Right.
Okay, so the time limitation, the expiration is not in the create the restore point part of the control panel. So now we go into storage options. Try storage sense.
See, the thing is especially on restore points, if they get over 30 days, odds are you're never going to do those. That's what your backups are for.
Yeah.
Your data backups and also system image backups. Really,
So this article at least discussed how to create a restore point, that it creates one. You can give it a name.
right.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. How to use the restore point, restore file system.
See, normally these restore points are you're going to make a system change. If something goes wrong, you can roll it right back to where it was before you did the change. So therefore, it's for short-term use only to undo a problem, because as time passes by and you're using your computer, you're making all kinds of other changes, including data changes. Now, system restore point only concerns itself with the operating system, not with your application programs or your data.
All right, so it also discussed how to do a restore. You could select the date, and it walks you through the process. Is there anyone in here that's interested in this part about restoring?
We might just as well walk people through how it works.
Okay, well, you identify the restore point that you want to go. You click on it. You choose next, and you could then tell it to go ahead and do it to that particular date. Choose finish,
Then it gives you a warning.
It's going to give you a warning, and the warning is going to tell you, are you sure this is what you want to do? And don't interrupt it when it's doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And depending upon how long, it may only take a few minutes. It could take 25 minutes, up to 2 hours. I've never seen it take a really long time. It's usually fairly short.
Yeah, usually 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the most I've seen. I've never seen it take longer than 10 minutes to do a restore, but
yeah,
it's been a long time since I needed to do that.
Well, some of the time-wise has to do with
on
the
wood somewhere.
horsepower of your system. If your horsepower is low or light, it'll take longer.
Very true. Very true.
or if you have a really large bloated system. But in answer to what Tim brought up about expiration, it's 90 days.
Oh, okay.
So I should not be seeing that happen as frequently as I sometimes do.
Okay, and once it's done, it'll automatically restart your computer, and then you'll go to get a notification that the system has been restored. Let's see, what's this about checkpoint?
And this does
Automatic checkpoints. They are created every so often or after certain changes are made in the system.
right. And systems restore also affects drivers. So if you were updating drivers and something went wrong, the restore of the restore point would end up setting it back to like it was before you did the driver update.
Yeah, and one thing that's really nice about some of the newer driver installers is they will offer to clean up the driver before they do any installation. So they'll clean out old software and old instances and old registry entries. The WHQL drivers from Intel do that.
They also discuss about doing a restore from when you're in safe mode.
Right.
I guess
Yep.
That's like when your system is so screwed up it automatically goes into the safe mode. If you just made changes and it's likely the cause of your system not booting up correctly, then running the restore point may get rid of your problem and you're back to where you were before the change took effect.
Of course, they've got some other what-if scenarios here. And they, what if you get stuck in a loop,
Right?
Yeah.
restart over and over and over. You can, they go through a couple of different things in here. This is a good read. And
I didn't read that part.
there is some disadvantages.
Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to everything.
Yeah.
The
main point is if system restore fails, then you have other recovery options you have to graduate to.
Right.
Of course, you can always, if you're able to boot, you can use the SFC scan now and DISM restore health.
Or your emergency key.
Well, the emergency key is the next up. If that doesn't, if the DISM doesn't work, then the emergency restore key, which is essentially the same as doing an in-place install, where you save all your stuff, and many of your settings will stay, but everything else gets reset.
Okay.
What's the emergency key?
If your system is unbootable, you have a USB that you can create that will allow you to boot into Windows in many cases.
Yeah.
It won't always, but sometimes it will.
Yeah,
It's advisable to create this emergency USB stick.
Yeah, already have.
If you haven't, it's a good idea to do it.
Yeah, I just wasn't familiar with the emergency key.
Yeah, there also are emergency boot USBs that are created by some backup software, such as Macrium Reflect, and easiest to do can do that. And Aomi Backer Upper operates from that environment.
Your emergency USB stick, if you haven't done it for a long time, it's almost worth redoing one, especially to catch up with some of the updates that have been put into the system.
Is it still showing waiting to get in?
I do not see anybody waiting to get in.
Okay, let Sanford, can you let Earl in?
I could let him in, but he has to.
He says that it's got a thing there showing it's waiting to get in.
And I do not see anybody waiting to get in.
Oh boy.
So
Did he use this month's
email?
Did he use this month's link?
Yes, he did. He clicked on that
Okay.
meeting.
He may need. He may have a problem. Ask him the last time he rebooted his computer. He may need to do that and try again.
And they said you may have to reboot your computer and try again.
Also, make sure you have a current Zoom.
Do you have the current Zoom?
should.
Specifically, let me see if I can find it. That should be under statistics, under video.
It worked last week when you were on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it did work.
5:14.2. Same as last.
Well, you were on our meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, same as last week.
But that's just so you know, it's a different link.
It's the meeting link. It's not the one that came out Thursday. It's the one that he sent this email out on yesterday. Did you get the email from yesterday?
Wayne, you may have to forward it to him.
Monday.
I'm going to send him another invite right now. I think I could do
He's going to send you another invite right now.
Gmail.
If you're trying to use last week's thing, that won't work.
Yeah, that was a different meeting.
Each meeting has its own independent link.
Okay, let's see if this, I've never done this
On the
this
10th?
way. Oh, you have to bear with me. Okay, I just sent it.
No. It's Tips and Tricks Tuesday Zoom meeting. It was sent on the 10th. Okay, try that. Click where it says meeting link.
If he already had a meeting link running, he's got to cancel out of that before he can do the other link.
Did you cancel out of that other meeting that you tried to get in? Okay.
Check his email. He should have a new email from me.
Yeah, he got it.
Okay, there's a link right on there that should work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my
I
fingers.
think he was using last week's link.
Okay.
Could be.
Is that working now?
Just make sure that he understands each meeting has its own link.
I'll let you know when he pops in. He hasn't popped up yet.
No, that's not going to work.
That one didn't work?
He wants to try to go into Zoom and then put the password in by himself. And the password doesn't show up on this
That's
fancy
right. We
link
don't
here.
give out the password.
Actually, the link I sent him had the passcode in it.
Yes.
The part
passcode and
the part
everything's
after
all in that link when you click on it.
the part after the question mark that says PWD equals. The part
Yeah.
after the question mark.
See the part after the question mark where it says PWD, and that's the password.
But just so you know, the email that I sent had
Everything.
complete URL, and then the second line had the passcode if you needed the passcode.
You
Well,
said
let's
that
see
it
if
just
let's see if the other way works.
Right.
Otherwise, reboot, reinstall Zoom, whatever.
In the meantime, I can look for.
you get in yet?
You'd see him on the screen, Wayne, if he was in.
Well, Sanford
Yeah.
would see him in the waiting room.
See, it worked last Thursday for him, but I don't know what happened tonight. He must have been using
There
last
he is.
Thursday's.
Now he's here.
There we go. Finally got rid of the old data and got the new data in.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that old data.
Now, has he got his sound and... Hi, Earl.
Can you see us now?
Can't hear you.
I don't-
We can't hear
He
him.
said that he could see us.
No audio yet, but we could see him.
Okay, but you got to click on your audio.
Well, no. Usually, if the audio is disabled, we see a red icon that indicates that. He's got no audio going into Zoom.
You got to click on your audio. So
I
when you sign in, you got to tell it that you want to join with the audio.
next to the microphone icon, lower left in Windows,
Okay,
the up caret, and select your mic.
yeah, I think I did, yeah.
Okay.
You have
Yeah,
done
yeah.
it now.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm hanging up.
all right, thank you.
High five.
Okay, welcome, Earl.
Welcome, Earl.
Sorry about all the confusion.
So much for the tips and tricks.
And Earl, for clarification, just so you know, each of our club meetings have their own independent meeting invites with their own passcodes.
Yeah.
And we change those throughout the year. So you got to pay attention when you get the emails for the meeting that comes with the link. You use that link.
Okay.
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 We do it for security purposes.
Well, and that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah, we got a separate thing, ID and everything. Every meeting is separate, different. Can't use the same password and ID.
Although they may look the same.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if
One
I,
other, oh, go ahead.
well, I say, if I click share screen, you should see
Yes.
I want to show you.
Yes.
Well, should I do that, or are you?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Hit
Yeah,
share
we can do
screen.
that.
There you go.
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, I should be able to go slideshow here, I suppose. You see that?
Great.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent.
Do you want me to present these slides now, or are you in a?
We're ready.
Okay. Well, I don't know any of you, and you don't really know me, and we're trying to introduce each other to, so I know nothing about your depth of knowledge or your interest per se, but when I see a title like tips and tricks, I assume this is something, more or less pretty basic for anyone who wants to, fiddle around with computers, but it's not central to their life the way it is to some people.
You hit it right on the head, Earl.
Yeah, that's just what I want to do. So in my case, over the recent years, IPv6 has come along, the next generation internet address technology. And yet a lot of people, I've actually seen people, how do I make sure my computer doesn't use IPv6? And I say, what the heck are you doing, man? Of course you want. I want to be the first guy on the block that uses these new technologies. Again, very recently, there is a new version of HTTP 3, which makes use of this new protocol called Quic, which should increase the performance of your web browsing experience dramatically. So I'd like to talk about it. And of course, the web now is being overcome with video downloads like YouTube and Netflix and all of that. And the bandwidth those videos consume is enormous. So having a codec which uses minimum bandwidth for a particular level of video quality is certainly a good idea. And there is this new video codec called AV1, and it's still image version, which is called AVIF, the image format. And so I want to talk about these three things. And so in the first tip on the IPv6 stuff, am I talking down to you guys?
Nope.
Okay. Well, on my Linux machine, if I go show system info, it shows me this. And at the top, you see my IPv4 loopback address, 127.0.1. And next to that is an IP4 private address, 10.0.0.166. And those are what are called in dotted decimal notation. And each of the four fields is 0 through 255 for the 8 bits that are in there. And remember that 10.IPv4 address is in private address space, and IPv4 has reserved private address space. And so as far as communicating to my Comcast cable modem, I use that address on my machine, 10.0.0.166. Then the remaining 5 there are IPv6 addresses, and the one there that it says LO, that's the loopback. So it's all all zeros except for the last digit, which is a 1. And notice that's a 256-bit address. Huge, whereas IPv4 is only 32-bit address. And so I don't want to talk about loopback. And if you go to the bottom left there, the one that starts with FE80, that's a link local address, which any other computer on my local Ethernet here, like my Comcast modem, I could communicate using that address if I wanted to. But the other 3 is an IPv6 loopback, and you see that there with : 1. Again, it's just the 254 or 55 zeros with a 1 digit there. And then next to that is another one that ends in 60DF, and then another one that ends in 12B5, and another one which ends in 913F. And this format here doesn't show me what those mean. So that kind of burns me. So I go back to the prompt. And, you know, if you go to a Linux prompt, there's, of course, vast number of commands. One of them is the IP command. And if you're from the Microsoft world, maybe you use things like netstack and ifconfig and those others, but Linux doesn't use those. It uses IP. So I have IP-6 address show because I just didn't want to do a cut and paste with the IPv4 addresses in it. And you see the loopback there, and then you see the other ones. And the very bottom one is that link local address. And so we'll just leave that out. And you'll notice that these others here that were enumerated on that previous screen, they have scope global, all of them. And they say, some of them say dynamic, and one says temporary, and some say no prefix fix route. And I say at the bottom, the flag there says, don't send this out into the local network for routers to put these addresses in their routing tables, because I'm going to launch packets out to anybody on the IPv6 network. I'm not going to use those addresses. I'm going to use the one that says scope global temporary dynamic, where the yellow arrow is. Now, the reason this is important to understand is because that other address, the one right above it that ends in 60DF, that uses the IPv6 unicast global address as it was defined in 1995, which in the last 64 bits is embedded your 48-bit MAC address, which is, many people claim, are burned into your internet interface board. And if you then use that in the IPv6 source address, which you launch into the internet, theoretically anybody then can deconstruct that and find out your MAC address, which some say it amounts to a serial number that says it came from this computer. And that's a security risk. And I know in 1995, no one thought that would be a security risk. Well, times there have changed. So in the early 2000s, a guy from IBM and a guy from Microsoft defined this new thing called Scope Global Temporary Dynamic Address. And in that instance, when you boot your computer up, it uses a pseudo-random number and constructs the rightmost 64 bits of your IPv6 source address to be what amounts to a random number. And if you use that as your IPv6 in your IPv6 packet that you launch out into the world will see that is your source address that they use as a destination address when they're sending back to you. But they can't deconstruct your MAC address out of it. And you'll notice these addresses have a valid lifetime in seconds and a preferred lifetime in seconds. So the idea being that this address will time out eventually when that amount of seconds go by, and then it will generate another one. Now, ongoing communication using the one that just expired, that's allowed to continue, but it goes ahead and creates a new temporary address by using a template, which is that next one there. It says dynamic MNG temporary address. And that is stored from the original one. It concatenates the two addresses together to form a 256-bit stream. It does a MD5 hash on that, message address 5, and then by some fancy thing selects some bits out of there, which forms a new global temporary dynamic address, such that when you next launch packets into the internet, you're using that address, not the old timed out temporary address. Do you follow that?
No.
I failed already. Well, the message here is that you don't launch your MAC address somehow in the original definition of a IPv6 global unicast address. It's called the privacy address, and it is done for security reasons, and it's used by everybody right now. And you'll notice that in my scope there, this INET 6 address that ends in 12B5 would be what when I launch packets into the internet, that's my source address from the point of view of the outside world. And they'll send back to that address.
All right, so how do you change this?
I don't, every time I boot up, it'll change, but if it times out, it'll change. The point is, it doesn't need, for all practical purposes, I don't need to change it.
Well, no, if there's a default address that it was giving with your MAC address, how do you change it to this style?
Well, it just does it automatically, whether you like it or not. It just creates it. The TCP
Windows does this automatically?
The TCP/IP pack that is running on Windows or any other computer doesn't.
I'm lost in how to change this.
You don't have to change it. It's just given to you.
Then
that's what I show you. You query your computer and it shows you all these IPv6 addresses.
I see.
So they're all there automatic.
How you select it?
You don't have to. If you launch a packet, into the internet, you're going to use the temporary dynamic address. Is the source address in the IPv6 packet which goes outbound.
All right, so I turn on my computer and I start browsing on the internet. Is it using this IPv6
Well, yes.
global temporary dynamic?
Yes, you are.
And before we get too far into this, Earl, you should clarify, you're using a Linux machine.
Yeah, but it's the same on
it shows up completely differently in Windows.
It'll show up differently when you...
And you change it differently in Windows.
I don't think...
Under the hood, it's the same, but you will not see the same display in Windows.
No, you will not see this display in Windows. That's right. But here's how you should test on this next slide. If you go to testipv6.com, it returns this screen to you. This is just a screen capture. It'll be the same on whatever browser you're using and whatever operating system you're using. And it tells you, for example, the IPv4 address is 24.15.10.50. Now notice that was not the 10.0.0 blah blah that was shown on that original system information, because that's the IPv4 address that Comcast assigned me. And of course, my Comcast modem uses that as my address. The modem gave me that address, the Comcast modem did. So when I send IPv4 packets toward the internet, they start out using my private address, 10.0.0, whatever. Then the cable modem switches that address out and puts this address, 24.15.10.50, and that's launched into the network. That's a public IPv4 address. Now that second line there says this website returns the address, and if you can see now, it's overlaid by your stuff there, but that's that 12.5b or whatever. That is the global dynamic address that was on the previous line. You see that? Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yes.
Right here. You see, that's the global dynamic address. I didn't have to do anything. I just did a test, and if you do this test, you'll get, and you're supporting IPv6, which I'm sure you are, you'll get your global dynamic address shown there as well. In other words, there's no way anybody could figure out your MAC address from this address. That's the essence of it. Okay, then it says your ISP is Comcast, and it has that 7922. We'll come back to that. That's called an autonomous system number in internet speak. And then it runs 10 tests, and in this case, it says you pass all 10 of these tests. So if you guys run this test IPv6 on some browser, you should get this exact same screen.
Okay, I just ran it on mine, and it says my IPv4 address, blah, 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 is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I have no IPv6 address detected.
Okay, so your host computer is not has not enabled IPv6. Now, if you're running Windows, I know Windows supports IPv6. They do a great job. So you've got some setting somewhere in there that says enable IPv6.
Yeah, I think maybe some people, because of the old security warnings and certain other warnings, turned off IPv6 at the modem.
Well, they might have because of this idea of exposing their MAC address.
Right. And this is out-of-date information that they're basing it on.
That's right. They turn it back on. At least, see, my view is I want it on. I hope IPv4 disappears. It was a lousy address scheme. No thought was put into IPv4. They hadn't a clue that it was going to become a real network. It was just a handful of research universities.
Okay, so how do I turn this on?
Well, I don't know how you do it in Windows. In Linux, it is turned on. But there's some way you go into some, I don't know how you click down into your interface settings, but there's some way to do it.
Interface settings of what? What interface am I looking for?
It might be the OS, it might be your modem. It could be either.
No, well, you're on a Comcast modem, are you not? Comcast cable network? Your ISP.
Mine is through, yes, it's through Comcast.
Yeah, well, they support it. So you have to do some administration on your local computer to enable it.
So am I doing the administrative part on my PC that I am on right now?
Yes.
Or do I have to do it on my router? Or do I have to do it in my cable modem?
No, it's not as far as I know.
Okay, so it's not about
You might have to do it in your router.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know that. I didn't administrate my Comcast modem. Oh.
No, that's Comcast. He's got a third party.
I don't know.
I've got Comcast, and I've got the same thing. It says your IPv4 address. It gives that, but it says there's no IPv6 address detected.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and it says you appear to be able to browse the IPv internet only. You will not be able to reach IPv6 only sites.
Yes.
To ensure the best internet, ask your ISP about native IPv4.
Well,
And then it says
That
Let's-
is interesting.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is interesting because mine says I do have IPv6 and I have Comcast. And I
Yeah,
didn't
so
do anything to it.
No,
apparently, now you have to go in somewhere and turn this on then?
well,
Yeah.
if somehow in the past it was turned off, yeah. But as far as I know today, any new computer enables IPv6 by default nowadays.
My computer is like 6 months old.
Well, I don't know what to say. I
Then it's likely your router or modem has got it turned off.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
We'll solve that another day.
Okay, so let me chime in on that router. So I IP'd into my router and went to IPv6 and found that the connection type is disabled. It gives,
Wow.
Oh, okay.
okay, it gives me, this is the default setting in there. So it gives me the option of native static IPv6 pass through, flex IPv6 service, tunnel 6 to 4, tunnel 6 in 4, tunnel 6 third, 6 RD. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Well,
which one do I choose?
I would think it was one of those first ones, but I've already forgot exactly.
It said native,
Yeah, why not?
native.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I will do this when I am not in this meeting.
Now, on this slide, the other thing is, if you type in the URL in your web browser, that's a symbolic internet address, and the domain name system is queried, and it returns the actual IP address of that server. Now, if your server, the DNS only returns what they call an IPv4 address record with an IPv4 real address, then your stack will send to it using IPv4. But if it also returns what they call an AAA record, which is the IPv6 address of that host, then your computer will launch an IPv6 packet toward that server. But not all the servers, web servers or any other mail servers, they don't all support IPv6 in the interim. So you can test here. If you go to this URL, this geekflare.com tools HT3P, it'll actually tell you whether you can communicate to that web server over IPv6 or not. So I went to this website. This is just a screen capture. And I typed in ccs.org, which is our website, our symbolic webnet. Then I click check IPv6. It tells me the IP address is returned as an IPv4 address at 162.241.216.71. But then at the bottom, big X, we couldn't connect to you over IPv6. So that server doesn't support IPv6 even if you had it enabled on your computer. So, just for the fun of it, I thought I had another one there. I guess not. I just, for the fun of it, from the command prompt, there's these wonderful things called traceroute and ping. Do you guys use those things just for the fun of it? Have you ever used traceroute? Is really nice. So, like I show here from my prompt, I write traceroute 6. 6 just means using IPv6. I put google.com. Now, intermediate routers are often named by their administrators, and just for the fun of it, going to google.com from my house here in Hinsdale, you see the fourth row there. It says Elmhurst, then another Elmhurst, Area 4, Illinois, Chicago. Then it looks like something like 350 East Cermak. That's a street address, probably, don't you think?
Yeah.
And then at the last one there, ORD, that's O'Hare Airport's code. So Google obviously has a server farm up near O'Hare, is the way I'd interpret that. So that's the path. You're not impressed. I think that's,
This is Earl. This is all new stuff.
well,
Yeah.
I hear about it. Isn't that neat? Now, if you ran traceroute without the 6 on it, it would do the same thing using IPv4.
I'm
And it might be a different path.
I'm
I
glad
don't-
I'm not presenting any of this because I know it's over almost everybody's head.
That's okay. Keep continuing.
Okay, then just for the
Enjoy
fun
this.
about it, I did traceroute 6 to ccs.org, and of course it comes back and say there's no address. That is to say, no IPv6 address, and we already saw that that's the case. So that leads me, I said, why wouldn't ccs.org support IPv6? So if you go to this iplocation.io, and you can type in any URL you want. So I typed in ccs.org, clicked on find it, and at the very bottom there it says web server software Apache. And I put the blue arrow there just to call that to your attention. So they're running a web server software by the Apache Foundation. And that explains a lot to me. Now, I also, just for the fun of it, did a screen capture off another site that showed me that your provider, that is the company that actually runs this web server, is called Unified Layer. I don't know who got this, set this up, but there it is. So you can find out who administers that web server and what is the so-called engine in there.
So what's wrong with Apache?
Well, let me show you. But first I want to show you this slide. Look at this logarithmic scale on the left. Each tick up is a factor of 10. And they apparently started tracking this only around the year 2000. But look at that red line starting about 10 years ago, like in 2013. Absolutely flat. And that shows that the number of web servers out there is, I don't know, something like what, 150 million or something like that, if you could read that logarithmic scale. That's something, isn't it? Now,
Yeah.
these servers can have multiple symbolic internet names associated with them. You know, they're web hosters, and that's what that blue line shows. But isn't it interesting that there was an exponential growth in web servers until about 10 years ago, and then it slowed down and is flat. Now here is web engines. Now notice that this starts in 1995 and goes up through last year. And if you look over at the extreme left, you see that light blue line at about 55% or something. And if you look over to the right on that label, that is NCSA, the National Supercomputer Application Center for Application. That is at the University of Illinois, and that's where the web browser was effectively invented. Do you remember Netscape?
Yeah.
They produced Netscape at the University of Illinois. And the federal government funded the 4 supercomputers centers. And when Al Gore claims he invented the internet, what it really means to say is he supported the federal funding of these supercomputer centers. So if you look at that light blue line starting up around 55% or something, look at it, it drops off to nothing within a couple years. Why? Well, first of all, that was a research thing, and they weren't in the web server business. So others came in to the app. And if you see the one that's dark blue, starts very low, goes very high, above 60%, then up and down. And look, lately, it's going down to about 20%. And that is Apache. And which was an free open source web engine that became very popular, 20 years ago and up until fairly recently. But if you look at that blue line, look, it started to drop about 10 years ago. Why? That's interesting. And the answer is the last release of the Apache web engine came out in about 2012, 2.4. And it has had essentially no maintenance other than bugs since then. So it doesn't support IPv6, it doesn't support, when we'll talk about HTTP3, it's just, I don't know what to say, it's just not a modern web engine. And that's why CCS.org can't do these things, is that company that runs that server on our behalf, and I guess we're paying for it, they're still using what amounts to a 10-year-old web server on that. And so that's the dark blue line. Then you see that gray line starting almost 40%, which is other, and it started high, then they fell way off and up and down. But lately, you look at on the right there, that gray line is actually going up. And that just means that there's lots of really good competitive web engines out there today that are not on this list. Now, the other interesting thing here is the red line, which is Microsoft. And again, they jumped on board, and they got to be a web server engine that was become quite popular if you look at that red line. But look lately, look at Microsoft lately, the last few years. It's dead. Now, Google is the purple line, and it started out, and then it fussed down, it's essentially gone. Then the green line, which starts about 2010, that's NGIX, an open source web engine run by a bunch of people who just wanted to do it. And that became quite popular up until a couple of years ago, and now it's dropping off too. Why? And the answer is their developers got mad, they all quit or whatever, and many of them founded this other company called Cloudflare. So NGIX spawned Cloudflare. Now Cloudflare says they've removed all NGIX software from their implementation. Then the turquoise line, Lightspeed, it's in there, but it's low too. And then you see that thing called OpenResty, the light green line. That's a Chinese implementation of the web engine. And look, lately that's done pretty darn good. So it just shows that the Microsoft and the Apache implementations for web engines are losing their grip, so to speak, on the web. You with me? You say, so what? Everybody
Yeah.
off, you know. But to me, that's interesting. I don't know why anybody wouldn't be interested in that. Next slide shows the browser over the last year. The message here is that it's steady. I'm talking just to one guy. Gee, okay. You see that green line, that's Chrome. And then the next line down there, the gray one, that's Apple's Safari. And then the next one down near the bottom is the blue, that's the Microsoft Edge browser. And look at how low those are down there. They're just not widely used. And you see the index there at the bottom. Opera is another open source web browser. UC browser, that's India. In Indonesia is the dominant place for a UC browser. It's the second most common browser in China. Then you see Android and Internet Explorer, which Microsoft has deprecated anyway. So Chrome is very, very popular. It's free and open source. And Edge uses the internal guts of Chrome because Google gave it away, essentially. There's many, many places where you can find IPv6 by country. But I thought I'd show you this, which is a screen capture of showing it by ISP. And you see it's that worldipv6launch.org. And you see, I don't know how they rank these things, but you see the name of the ISP, you see the autonomous system numbers listed there, and then something about IPv6 deployment. And I presume that means the interfaces that support IPv6 at the edge of their network. Now, if you remember one of those earlier slides, I was shown as Comcast 7922, and you see that there on that list. Now, an autonomous system number is assigned by the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority, IANA. It's an administrative grouping. So the fact that Comcast has so many, it just gives the idea of how big Comcast is. I think that Reliance one is in the Far East somewhere, something like that. Then the mobile carriers, Charter, AT&T, T-Mobile, Deutsche Telekom. You see Verizon there. And so it's just interesting to see that IPv6 is in fact widely used today. Now, change topics to my last and final tip and trick. Oh, I can tell you're excited. The World Wide Web is just blew the lid off the internet. I can remember the day I first came up with Netflix.1, not Netflix, what was that, bro? Netscape?
Netscape.
Oh my God, it just blew my mind. It was such a fantastic thing. And it has. And so that protocol used that markup language, HTML, which went through several versions now. And it used the hypertext transfer protocol, which has gone through several versions. And those then employed the TCP protocol, Transmission Control Protocol, which is layer 4 of the Internet Protocol stack. All these things are defined by the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force. It's a de facto standardization bodies, and they publish RFCs, requests for comments. Are you aware of these things?
A little bit.
It's been my life for decades. Someday I'll tell you about when I went to an IETF meeting, the one that announced IPv6, as a matter of fact. I was walking to the hotel with my suit and tie. I said, gee whiz, there must be an outlaw motorcycle club meeting here in the same hotel. No, those were the people who actually go to IETF meetings. You know, they're all academics. And that explains a lot, doesn't it? Well, anyway, since the web is overwhelmingly video downloading today, using a single connection-oriented TCP connection on the internet may not be a good choice, because you have to set up the virtual circuit. That takes 1.5 round-trip times. And everybody, all the video, all the images, all the hypertext markup language stuff, all that comes down through that one TCP stream. So people decided it needed to change. And they came up with this thing they called Quic, which used to be an acronym, as it says, Quick UDP Internet Connection. And this is big. They switched out of TCP and went to the internet alternative called UDP, which is a datagram protocol. In other words, it's not connection oriented. It's just a packet is thrown into the internet. There's no signaling or anything going on to set up a virtual circuit like TCP. And that allowed or forced that the new HTTP protocol would do the multiplexing that TCP used to do. But if you're using UDP, you can't do that. So you had to write a whole new upper layer to the internet engines to support Quic, which is really very interesting. And Quic was just formally adopted as RFC 9000 just a few months ago. And I should tell you, I left out that HTTP 1.0, then HTTP 1.1, which were used for many, many years. And you remember you used to type HTTP : www, blah, blah, blah. That was that version of HTTP, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which used TCP. But people wanted that to be secure, that encrypted. They wanted the stuff encrypted. And so another internet job was transport layer security, TLS. And so HTTP 2 required also that you embed transport layer security 1.2 as part of that. And at that point, you had to type HTTPS : www. Do you remember that a few years ago? Now, that caused some problems because some people bookmarked this stuff and they were trying to communicate to an HTTP 2 website with security or with encryption. And of course, it came back. You're using it was so-called port 80. And anyway, so that's what this is. And so this should speed up your browsing experience dramatically. And I say, I want it. I don't have to do it. I want it. It's free. I'm going to do it. So how do you know whether you're capable of using this protocol or not? Well, I wanted to show you h333check.org. And if you go there from your computer, it'll prompt you for a URL name to see if that site allows you to use HTTP 3. So I typed in ccs.org, and sure enough, it does not allow that. Why? Because it's using a 10-year-old Apache web engine. But if you type in google.com, it says Quic is supported. It gives the IPv6 address. And notice it doesn't label it, but it has 443 there. That's the port number for HTTPS, the encrypted link. And for HTTP3, you have to use encrypted link or communication, which uses port 443 rather than port 80. Well, I'll leave it at that. So let me go on. The third thing I want to talk about is that if video dominates the download web market and things like Netflix and YouTube and all of that, you want to have compression at the highest as it can to minimize the bandwidth burden on the internet. So the websites are now very complex, multimedia, bells and whistles, and that's going to increase the bandwidth. And so people say, gee whiz, we got to do a better job of compressing video. Now, the video formats can come from a variety of sources, but the image things are historically JPEG, the Joint Photographic Experts Group, which is a consortium of people under the sanction of the ISO, the International Standards Organization. There's one for video too, JVEG for video. They put out these H standards. So when you see video that's H263, H264, H265, and forthcoming H266, those come from this organization. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. They're very good, but they are patent encumbered. And what that means is the people who devised these things patented because it was a lot of work and expense. And if you're going to encode using my codec invention, you're going to have to pay me some money. So these organizations allow you to decode for free, but if you want to encode using those formats, you have to pay into a patent pool, and that's fine. It's all the major players do. So, but other people say, why don't we have something that's royalty free that's just as good? And so a number of companies founded this thing called the Alliance for Open Media. And of the founding members included Microsoft, Mozilla, Intel, Cisco, Amazon, Netflix. And so they produced this video codec called AV1. I want it. I don't have to want it. It's free. I want it. So they say we're going to have advantages over H.264 and H.265. But unlike those, this is free, royalty free. And if you see this clip from a video download that came from the Alliance for Open Media website, that this particular video of that quality took 10.5 megabytes per second on the download, whereas H.264 took 15. Well, that's happened again above what AV1 was. Well, that's something. Now, what this doesn't tell you is that the H.265 uses about the same bandwidth as AV1. And that's coming into more common use today, but so is AV1. So, and now these people are working on H.266, which they claim will be better than AV1, but of course you have to pay into a patent pool if you want to encode with it. Now, as you know, video encoding is 25 frames a second or whatever it is. They take a full picture, then they send the changes for a few frames, and then another full picture. So if you're going to do that, why don't you take the full picture and call that a still? And so the Alliance for Open Media came up with AVIF, the image format. And that's not quite so well supported quite yet. But if you go to that AVIF support test.glitch.me, if you on your browser, if you see this picture, then you know your browser supports AVIF. And I, just for the fun of it, I made a screen capture and I right-clicked on it to save it. And I just wanted to show you there by the yellow arrow that it saves it as a .avif. So if you try this, I think every browser does support it, but not every image viewing program does support AVIF right now.
Up until recently, I don't know if this has changed, FireFox did not support AVIF.
Well, as far as I know, now they do. But I must just say, I have FireFox. I could have run that test.
Yeah, we should test it one of these days.
Yeah. Well, but now the JPEG people, they're not sitting around twiddling their thumbs. That if AVIF is coming along, they've got to do something too. So the Joint Photographic Experts Group has come up with a new image compression algorithm, which they call XL. And on my computer, it overlays right here. It shows that the extension, I think, is JXL. If you see an image with JXL, it is JpegXL. And they say it's very good. Now, this is interesting. For video, they're patented, and you pay into a patent pool if you want to encode. But now, JPEG people say, this is royalty free, and we will release in open source a reference implementation of JpegXL. Go ahead and use it. You can rewrite it, you can use whatever. And so that's interesting. So How do you know whether your browser will show such a image? Well, you could go to that URL, jpegxl.info. And I did that. And here's the screen capture. My browser does not support JpegXL. So maybe you guys want to try it. I don't think you'll get it'll show. Now, this is strange because Microsoft was a very early supporter of AV1. So you might think, well, why wouldn't they be a supporter of AVIF? And this particular website, which I did a screen capture, the article there is, why doesn't Edge support AVIF images? And this is what they say, that Microsoft has no statement whatsoever about supporting AVIF, which I think is kind of strange, but they do support AV1 video very well on Microsoft products. So go figure. Now, if you like to download from YouTube and watch videos, this slide actually has two slides. The top part there above the line, if you want to scrape that particular YouTube video and watch it, or search for it under the name YouTube Video Codec Comparison, they actually have side by side. And you can watch, they're synchronized, so you can watch exactly as coded in AV1 as distinct from H.264 or VP9. So that's interesting. But if you are watching something, and I always watch Explaining Computers, which is a wonderful site, guy out of England. I don't know, do you guys watch that? It's one of my favorites every Sunday. And if you watch that, or watch any video on your web browser from YouTube, if you right-click on it, you get a drop-down menu that includes Stats for Nerds. And that's this pop-up screen you see there. And it tells you your viewport, your resolution, and you see your 1920 by 1080 at 25 frames a second. And the beautiful part about it is it tells you the codec. So you see it lists AV1 there, but it's AV01.0.08M.08. Well, there's lots of encoding profiles. So this is their way of saying it's that particular AV1 profile. And it is given that code 399. And then after the slash, it's the audio codec, which is called the Opus protocol. And it's so superior to every other audio protocol, it's almost universal. You rarely see a YouTube video that does not use Opus for the audio stream. And notice it's coded 251. But the shocking part, look at that connection speed, 63,000 kilobits per second. That's 63 megabits per second. Isn't that something? Well, that's the price you get for that level of picture quality. And when I go full screen, I'm telling you, that video is, you can see every hair. That is as good as HD TV. It's just absolutely spectacular how good video has come over the internet. And while that speed of 63 megabits per second sounds high, compared to regular television, that is quite compressed. So I just want to show you can download. Now remember that code 399 and 251. So what if you wanted to download that YouTube video? Well, there's right there on their website, you can say download. Well, if you click on it, what's it say? Have you ever clicked on it? It says you can try it for free. Well, what's the next conclusion? You're going to end up paying for this. Well, that's enough to turn me off. So there is this command prompt program called YouTube.dl, or not, -dl, and that runs on Windows and Macs and Linuxes and everything. So I downloaded it. And the interesting thing about it is you can download the streams you can download the stream, either the audio only or both, or the video only, however you want to do it. So if I were just wanted to download the audio, which for music files I like to do, you see, I use -251 and then the YouTube URL there, and it downloads just the audio. But if I wanted the AV1 encoded at 1080 by uh, uh, whatever, I use that code 399 plus 251. And there is a screen capture of me doing that. And it chooses a default file name, in this case, GPIO for any PC or laptop. And you see that first one there is f399.mpeg4 and then f251.webm. They're downloaded separately. And then it says merging formats. So there you go. If you want to download these for free. Now, this slide just shows you very quickly, there's a bunch of codes for different audio. And you see the last one there at the top there, 251 Opus 48K. That's very high quality audio, way better than telephony or anything else. That's high fidelity audio. Now, if you look at the ones in the dash capital F format shows you this, just the ones for video, for example, you see there's lots of them. And they go from 256 by 144, and then 426 by 240, 640 by 360, 854 by 480, 1280 by 720, and then the bottom three, 1920 by 1080. And if you look at that third from the bottom is 399 AV1, that profile. And I think that file is 517K, the one that I have that URL from YouTube on. But if you look above that, the MP4 is using ABC is 633K. So it looks like AVN at 517 is considerably smaller download than it is for the AVC, which is H265, I think. And VP9 is even less at 484, but it's not as high quality as AV1. Any questions?
Earl, to invoke this, you just go to your browser and type in YT-DLP and then the file name?
No. You go to your browser, watch the YouTube video.
Okay.
It'll have the URL of that video.
Right.
Highlight it, copy it, then go to your command line prompt.
Terminal.
Yes.
And then you type in this stuff. And then you just paste in the YouTube URL.
So the YT-DLP is a command prompt function?
Yes, and you have to have that installed on your computer, and you probably don't.
Wait, what am I installing?
You have to install either YouTube-DL as an executable, and if you're on Microsoft, it'll be a .exe, or you can download YT-DLP.
All right.
Now,
This only works with YouTube sites. It doesn't work with other sites?
I think it works with some other sites, but the emphasis is on YouTube.
Okay.
Because that's the big source of
download. So then what you would do is you would type in, after you download this program at the command prompt, you type in YT-DLP followed by the URL?
Yes. Or if you want to, before you put the URL, put in the -F 399 plus 251, or if you want to stipulate some particular level of audio and video. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
If you don't put the codes there, it's just YouTube chooses what they download to you. But if you want to force YouTube to download particular things, you can put there following the -f, like I did, on the previous slide here, let me go up. You see there, I have a dash lowercase f, 399 plus 251. See, I'm stipulated, I want the AV1 encoded 1080p video plus the high quality Opus sound. I forced YouTube into downloading that particular encoding.
But then you had to merge the two?
No, it does it automatically.
Oh, okay.
What you do have to do is rename it if you want. See, it defaults to a name. In this case, on this slide, you see that GPIO for any PC? That's a dumb name. Why in the world how they choose that, I don't know. But what I would do right after this, when my command prompt comes back, I use the Linux MV command, which is move. I think is it Microsoft rename, REN or something like that?
Yes.
I think it is rename, but it's the same thing. And then you put this long name. Now, again, on Linux, I just type the capital G, the capital P, and maybe some more. I hit tab and it auto completes the rest of that file name. And then I type in, space, and then I type in whatever name I want to give it, .webm. I must have 100 audio music files that I've downloaded this way. And I can play it while I'm doing something, it's just like whatever. So that's really nice. And back to AVIF, compared to other image formats like JPEG, you see that the HEIF, the third from the bottom, third from the top, that's Apple's proprietary encoding, and then AVIF. And they're much less than ordinary JPEG, but JpegXL will be every bit as good as AVIF, but it's patented covered. Anyway, I just decided I would look for support of AVIF, and you say the image viewers, the media players, and the image editors that are known to have support AVIF. And of course, I use GwinView on Linux, and I use VLC. I know you can run VLC on Windows machines, right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Now, getting back to YouTube, if you're in watching videos off YouTube, if you go to the right-hand side, scroll down, you'll see settings. Click on settings, click on playback and performance, and you'll get this screen. And I just made a point. It shows at the bottom, AV1 settings. It will automatically have auto highlighted or chosen. That's their recommended setting. But being the kind of guy I am, I clicked always prefer AV1. It's just me. If you want to do that, you can. Such that it'll normally use AV1 when it can. Not every video is encoded on YouTube is encoded in AV1. And of course, if it's not, then it uses whatever alternative. It won't refuse to download it, it just won't download it in AV1 if it's not encoded that way.
What is show video in info cards?
I don't know what that means.
Well, there is I'll go look for it because there is a help next to it.
I give you a screen capture of a site that shows browsers for AV1 Play. And of course, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox implies that it will, or I don't know. I just don't know. I don't use I do have Firefox, I just don't use it as my default browser. But Safari and iOS are X'd out. And it's my understanding that it is by default X'd out. That is to say, it will not show an AV1 playback. But you can go into that Safari settings and you'll find a way to enable it. That's my understanding. So it does support it. It's just not by default. That's it. If you want these slides,
Yeah, go ahead and just put them in the chat.
okay. Okay. Let me I'm gonna okay, now let me just see.
Stop sharing.
Oh yeah, I have to stop sharing.
Well, you don't have to, but
Okay, and then I go to chat and I can paste it right there, message tips to tricks, SIG.
yep,
Okay. Let me,
you should be able to drag and drop it or paste it in there.
well, I've decided to uh, okay.
While we're doing that, I need to do a correction. AV1 and AVIF are supported by FireFox, but JpegXL is not natively,
Yeah.
unless you get the nightly build.
Well, I should tell you that AVIF, or I should say JpegXL, uh, uh, at first said they would, Google said, we will support JpegXL. And everybody sort of applauded. But then, after some months, they announced they would not support they would not support JpegXL. And that caused quite a stir. A lot of people screamed and said, why not? After all, it's royalty free. So go figure.
Yeah, this whole topic area was discussed at some length over the last couple of months in my Linux user group out here in Massachusetts, Natick Foss.
Really?
And it's quite an interesting little controversy between Mozilla, Google, and Microsoft.
Yeah.
And the Linux people. But I do have things set up so that I can show in Windows what this IPv6 system information looks like. If anybody wants to see that.
Sure, you can get to that. But before we go there,
yeah, we'll wait.
I did want to state that I did a little from a different perspective on the formats that were being illustrated tonight. That is the AV1 and the JpegXL. Neither of those two formats are supported in Adobe Premiere for video, nor is it supported in Adobe Photoshop for photo editing. It is also not supported in my camera. None of my cameras, even the Canon's cameras, the high-end cameras, do not support the video or photo formats. So where this stuff will come natively to get to those formats is not coming from the raw material or the raw generators.
Let me address that. In order to do these high compression video encoding, you need hardware acceleration. In other words, the chip, your graphics chip, has to be specialized to support these real-time encoding work, which is a lot. You can't just do it in software in real time. It might take you an hour to encode 15 minutes of video if you did it software. If you want to do it like you're just taking a movie, it has to be done in real time. And you need hardware acceleration for that. So the cell phones are made with chips that in fact have been specialized to use these H .26465 formats. They claim that they will build into these chips in the future AV1. But to my knowledge, no cell phone, to my knowledge, will encode in AV1 today. In fact, you need a very high-end desktop computer with a very, very top graphics card to encode an AV1 even on your PC. It's a lot of work. And until vendors of chips, graphics chips, do something, AV1 encoding is going to be a real challenge. Now, what YouTube does is someone uploads that video, and they, on their super powerful computers, they re-encode it into AV1 just so you'll download it in AV1, which consumes less network bandwidth. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Okay, now the question is, I'm trying to drag this presentation onto the message, and it doesn't seem to be taking it.
There is something else you can do. Open up a chat window, and there are icons at the bottom. The third one from the left is like a piece of paper. That's file. That's for file upload.
Okay, at the bottom I see chat.
At the very bottom, you have icons. 4 icons in the lower left.
No,
where you below where you're typing a message.
Bob, where he's talking, he was trying to find chat
Right next to
on
a
the
smiley
bottom.
face.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
It's the hamburger menu.
Yeah.
I know it's to the left of the smiley face on mine.
It's to the right on mine, and it's
Okay.
It's file, right?
Yeah, it's file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now I got a pop-up allowing me to.
Yeah, you choose from my computer,
Yeah.
and you're off to the races.
Okay, now I got to remember where I put this stuff.
Oh, and by the way, Adobe Photoshop does have JpegXL support, but it must be manually enabled, and it will require hardware acceleration.
Okay, I didn't see that. I didn't see that listed as my options.
And it's only in newer editions.
If you want to, we've got.
It's in the chat.
We have 4 minutes left. Bob, if you want to show us that IPv6.
Yeah. Give me just 1 minute to copy one thing here, and then I will open up a share window. Let me get all this away and share screen. Oh, the whole screen, and
I think I saw
here we go.
Earl, I think I saw your chat come through.
It has come through.
Yeah.
Let me download that while I have a chance. CS all, tips and fixes, save, and now, everybody see what's on my screen?
By the way, let me just
This is. Let me collapse everything to where you would see it.
Yeah.
You would see hardware resources, components, and software environment under system information. I simply typed in the search box to get to the system information. And I'll select the category. I believe it's under components, network, and I opened that up. It was collapsed and I opened it. You have adapter, you have protocol, and you have WinSock. Protocol is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And that will tell you your IPs. You have many different protocols available. Here's one of the IPv6. Here's another one. Here's TCP. Here's UDP/IP.
That means IPv4.
Right. And TCP v6 service provider.
Yeah.
And TCP service provider. So I have both 4 and 6.
Okay. Where do you find your actual addresses here?
There probably are some details somewhere, but right now, the actual addresses, I believe you would have to go into a Windows command line to
I
get
think
to all of that.
I think if you type IP config, it'll tell you.
Yes.
Okay, let's see about that. We
It
want
might
to
be
run ipconfig.
Yeah, or you might have to do it from command prompt. Let's see what that does.
Well, it should be the
Yeah,
same.
it's a command prompt thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me get into my command prompt.
But there's a way to see it graphically, I'm quite sure. I just haven't.
And what do I want to do? ipconfig?
Yep,
Yeah.
same thing. Oh, take out that typo. There you go.
Bracket. There
Here
you
we
go.
are.
There you go.
And here's our IPv6 address, and here's IPv4 address, and subnet mask,
Yeah.
and all of these other details, which
Now,
we could see so beautifully in the Linux command line.
You see the temporary IP address there that ends in 3B0A.
Yeah, I got it.
Now, if you did that URL to check if I'm capable of sending, I forgot what the address, it should show you that address, the one ending in 3B0.
Just a moment, do I still have that open? I probably not.
Well, open up another tab.
Okay, what do I need to open here to get there?
Just on the plus there to open up another tab.
Oh, I know how to do a tab, but what do you want me to type in?
I
What's
forgot.
the address?
I have to look back in the slides to see what it is. Wasn't it IPv6-test.org?
No, wasn't it test-ipv6.
I'll tell you what.
.com?
Test
No.
IPv6.
IPv6-com.
Here it is, testipv6.com.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I did do it before, and
There you go.
IPv6 address. Actually, the IPv6 address is the second one that ends in 3B0A.
Which is, if you look back.
And if I look back here, not here, but if I look back in my command line, it's the second, it's the temporary. Yeah, it's temporary.
Yeah. Yeah.
3B0A is my temporary.
There you go. So every packet you launch to the internet will have that as the source address.
Right. And I have the Comcast 10.0.0.1, etc.
That's your local IPv4 private address, which your Comcast modem has given to you.
Yep.
If you tested to see your IPv4 address in the outside world,
Okay.
then it would show not that 10 address. It's this one.
66.31.108.206.
Yeah, that's your source address when you launch an IPv4 packet into the internet.
And it can find out my ISP because I'm using their modem.
Right.
And so it says Comcast 7922.
Which is what mine showed.
Yep.
And we're in the same area, so why wouldn't it be that?
And I scored 10 out of 10. Wait a minute, not the same area. I'm out in Boston.
Oh, you're in Boston.
Yep. And we are actually more dense in IPv6 coverage than you are in Chicago.
Absolutely, you would be. If you're in the Boston area, that's very high tech.
Oh, yeah. From New York up through Boston, the old 9X territory.
Yeah.
So we get good internet up here.
Oh yes, I'm sure you do.
If
you wanted to test your download, you go to a browser, you can test your download. I go to Comcast, search for Comcast speed test right there. There you go.
Alrighty, let's do that one. That's Xfinity actually nowadays.
Yeah.
And let's start it. I think we have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just
they don't always show you your upload speeds.
No,
the download speed is here.
they show both. They'll show
It'll
both.
show up.
Here we go. Download speed, show more.
Well,
Upload speed.
There you go.
There's my upload. And it's varying between 10 and 12.
and
Yeah,
the
that's what
download,
mine is.
and the download is 200. Man,
Yeah, my download is 200, even though I'm rated at 400 maximum.
Getting ripped off.
Must be busy right now then.
Yeah, it's going to be busy at this time of night. Well, we're getting into a time when it won't be.
I think I get 400 or something like that.
On a good day, I will too. It also depends on what's connected to your network, what's sharing, what's recording, what's doing all kinds of other things.
If you're doing something else online that is, downloading video, it's.
If you are running Zoom, it behaves as though you're downloading a video.
Exactly. So when you get off Zoom, do this again, and it'll be.
It'll be around 300 to 400. It usually is.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but on Zoom, it's cut nearly in half. So that shows you how much Zoom is taking up.
Yeah, Zoom takes up a lot. Absolutely. It's pretty good video, don't you agree?
Yeah, but the point is, with Zoom, you are sharing your resources.
Yes, you're sharing that download link. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Earl.
I don't know.
That was a great presentation you did. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, that worked.
I think
let me know if you can open that presentation under Microsoft Office.
How about LibreOffice?
Yeah, well, that's why I created it in LibreOffice, and that's an ODP, Open Document.
Yeah, but on Windows, my LibreOffice takes like about 10 minutes to open if it's got a bunch of slides.
I think if you have Office, it should show it too. There's nothing fancy in there. They're just slides.
No, it's just the program takes a long time to open.
I'm surprised it takes that long.
I have some kind of a feature installed that does not like Windows.
I guess.
I took the whole kitchen sink when I installed it. Here it is. Got it. You're here.
Okay. You can do it.
I also did that little trick of doing a print screen of the slides as they came up on the screen.
Yeah.
So that I would get key points. That didn't include everything.
No. And it all will be uploaded with our video to YouTube. And viewed.
All right.
Well, I've spent a lifetime as a college professor and a professional presenter of the TCP/IP protocols. So that's my bag is this sort of stuff. And I can go pretty darn deep into these. I worked with Bell Labs, Telecommunications Research Associates. And I've been all over the world giving these lectures.
I would say him and Ed Keating are going to become good friends.
Yeah.
Ed Keating, who runs the Northwest chapter,
right?
What, ex-Motorola?
Yeah.
I worked in Motorola. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my doctorate's from UConn, so I'm sort of a Massachusetts guy. There's UConn and UMass.
Well, UConn is kind of a rival.
Okay, does anyone else have any other last questions or comments for our meeting tonight? We never really went into any of the things, not much that was on my topic list. But any other questions or comments? No.
Well, I love hearing my own voice, so I'm very pleased.
Okay. I would like to thank everybody for attending. I'll be stopping the video.
All right.